Hello, and thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Spoken Word, the powerful series shared by Octavia Nicholas. The last time we were here, the poem was You Said. And this time, we're talking about I Survived, another moving, powerful poem from the book. Octavia, I Survived. Tell me about this poem.
I survived. Just as the topic says, I survived. This speaks of the physical encounter. So after being in the relationship and I decided that I wanted to break free, I said I was leaving. So the night before I left, I had, physical encounter. And that's what survived. I survived, explained what I went through physically. This one was, very difficult, difficult for me, even sometimes to talk about, because I still can't, wrap my head around when someone claim, to love you, and then they would actually bring physical harm to you. So I survived speak of the physical encounter and what I went through on that particular night before I actually left the home. So that's what I survived.
So, the narcissist with whom you were in a relationship tried physically to prevent you from leaving the relationship.
Physically to harm me. It's almost like, well, you're leaving, and when you leave, what shame will it bring? What are you about to do to me, now? Who did you tell? What's your next move? So I think the narcissist got very angry. I can't tell you if this is something that was planned beforehand, or if it's, it just happened, the spur of the moment, as the narcissist got upset as we try to just pull from me why you want to leave. Who did you tell that you were leaving? Right now, you're going to embarrass me. You're going to expose me. These are the things that were said to me. And they became very, very abusive, to the point that it explains in the poem that I got choked until I almost lost my breath. There was a pistol that was pointed towards me. So I Survive is very graphic. So it explained, the physical abuse that I encountered that particular night.
When you said you survived, therefore, this was as literal as it got because your life was in peril.
Yes, it was. So for me, that was extremely terrifying, because you're like, am I going to survive that night? Will I survive that night, because of how intense this was? And it's almost like trying to leave, but then you're forced to stay. So I wanted to try to get out of that particular physical situation, but then you're bad from doing that as well. So that made it even more frightening. So as I said, this one is it's very difficult, because it was very, very intense. As I said, to the point that I thought maybe I would not have survived the night.
I'm so sorry that this happened to you, but heartened by your strength of character and your resilience, how did you eventually, with all this physical violence, what happened next? How were you able to eventually leave the relationship, notwithstanding the very repulsive behavior of the narcissist?
Yeah, well, for me, my mind was already made up. This was, as I said, actually the last night that I was spending in that home. So I was due to leave the following morning. So when this happened, for me, it was okay. Now, this has happened. The morning broke. The individual was asleep. And I said, okay, let me just get myself together. And still in shock, but decided I'm just going to forget about it. I will go into work. So I still got dressed as normal. I would have placed one phone call to a family member to explain what happened. But I said, it was my last night anyway, so I am leaving. And I actually left and I came straight to work. and functioned like, nothing ever happened. So it was actually while I was at work that I got a phone call from the individual who said to me, well, I heard that, you called a family member to inform them, but I'm telling you now that you need to walk away from this and you need to keep your mouth shut or else. And when that was said to me, I made a phone call to someone who really advised me that I should, you should go to the police. And that's when I decided to make that move and make a report, because the individual said, this is very serious. And you may say, well, no, when you're leaving, but you never know when people get angry what they can really do. So I think you should try to take a step in protecting yourself by making that report. So that's what I did. But I was already due to leave. Everything was already set for me to make that move. So I just did. So that was the last night I actually spent in that home.
Where did you go after?
After I left work, well, before I left, I just left everything at work. I said to them, just tell my clients I will be back. And I went to make a report. And the next poem that's coming up is Justice and Peace. And that explains what happened after that, which was something too that was very intense and very hurtful as well. So I went to the police, I made a report, and then I went to where my new home would be. I went home and cried myself to sleep.
It was never about trying to understand your feelings for the narcissist. It was all about him. And that's why the book is called Surviving a Narcissist. Because in the last stanza, you say, you hurt me beyond words can describe, not for any wrong that I had done, all for your selfish gain and gripe.
Because the narcissist thought he was hurt. How dare you leave me? Now it's going to bring shame to me, because people are now what are people going to say? And, I was literally told that, who did you tell, you were leaving? Now you're going to make me a laughing stock. You understand? So all of that, these are the things that were being said. So it wasn't about me. And I think it even got beyond the fact that you are leaving, but it's what it would do to the individual. So again, that's what narcissists, does. It's all about them. It's all about how my image and how I will feel. How will people look at me? What will people think? So even, I guess, knowing that I was leaving, maybe for him or for the narcissist, it wasn't that hurtful. But the fact that people would know, the fact that it would become public, that was more of a concern than anything else.
When you were writing this poem, I'm pretty sure it must have taken you back to the very difficult, regrettable, traumatic experience.
Yes.
How did you manage to write this poem, to complete it?
It was very, very difficult. So I did it and did it in tears, because as I said, before the book came about, the poem came, and this came about too at nights when I couldn't sleep. So I woke up and I would write. So I just started writing what I had encountered, what I had gone through. So I did it in tears while I cry. I just, I wrote, and I just put my thoughts in writing, or what had happened to me in writing, and it actually helped me as well as I did that.
You told us before on the spoken word that you forgive the narcissist. Even after this?
Even after this, I did. Yes, I have forgiven. As I said, sometimes it's not even about you. And for a narcissist, as I said, it's narcissism. It's a mental health disorder. And when you're not in a good place, when you're suffering from that disorder, then you do things that maybe the normal person won't do. And disorder comes because of so many different things. So it could be because of the trauma that this individual went through. It could be something that was nurtured from childhood. I don't know because I was never told, or I don't know where it stemmed from. But for me, the best thing to do would just to forgive. I have to forgive so I can receive my healing as well. So you have to let go, because if you don't, this stays there and it festers, and it makes things worse for you, and you build this anger inside of you, which doesn't really help with with healing. It won't help with your happiness. It won't help you to move on and to break free. So I had to forgive. And for me, generally, that's just my nature. I'm a very forgiving person. I forgive, and I leave things behind. And I think this is one of the reasons I remained in a relationship for that long, because things happen, it's not right. This should not really be happening. But then a narcissist is very convincing as well. They will do whatever they have to convince you that, I am sorry, that this is not what was meant to be. And maybe if you only just, tweak some things, then maybe things can be better. But for me, I always thought that this was coming from a dark place. And I always thought that maybe I could effect change in that individual. So I am, so I stayed on. But it's, it makes it very difficult, but I had to forgive, and I had to forgive and let go so I could receive my healing.
What's your message to anyone who's going through that sort of physical violence that you went through and might be unsure what to do, afraid to do anything? What's your message?
Well, I would say that this is something that you should not keep to yourself, because it can lead to your death. And I'm happy for the individual who said to me, you need to make a report. You need to go to the police. You need to take it further because you are not sure. And sometimes we take things so lightly, and we don't talk about it. We keep it to ourselves. And eventually that's why sometimes you hear of so many women who don't make it. But I'm happy that I'm here telling the story. I was able to survive, and part of surviving is reaching out for help. So I would just advise anyone who's going through to reach out for help. Don't keep it to yourself. You didn't really do it to yourself. And I think we keep it to ourselves because we're ashamed, and it goes again, ashamed of what people will think. So we keep it to ourselves, and then it becomes to our own detriment. So I would advise that we speak out, get some help so you can survive.
And that's why it's called spoken word. This poem is gripping. It talks about trauma, travails, resilience, strength, and eventually triumph. Time now for I Survived.
I survived. I felt your hand against my face, hard enough to make my ear ring, of fright and fear and disbelief. You slammed my head against the wall. I can't explain how it didn't fall. Lying helpless, you placed your knees on my arms, the arms which held you and our child. You placed your hands around my neck until I almost lost my breath. You looked me in the eyes and said, I can kill you and explain your death. I stared at the pistol you pointed towards me, demanding answers and my plan when I leave. I begged for your mercy. I was riddled with fear, hoping that my life would be spared. You hurt me beyond words can describe, not for any wrong that I had done, all for your selfish gain and gripe.